Welcome back. Now, while major parties are still in a logjam over seat sharing, the Election Commission is off the blocks with regard to Model Code of Conduct. Now, teaming up with the Income Tax Department, the Election Commission will be keeping an eye on the cash flow via the new poll expenditure monitoring guidelines. Peer Mohammed brings us this report.
One observer of expenses to police 5 assembly constituencies, plus an additional director, investigations to be deployed in each of the 32 districts. This is the EC's plan to stop the cash flow to voters ahead of elections. Something it successfully tested in the Bihar elections after teaming up with the IT department.
The election purpose, all district le or assistant director investigation poduvanga. All district le. So cash pothore ke jo tawal vanda nera income tax ke it will be they will take action. The cash enga irundha vandirke avanga source irka paper trail irka. So income tax le action edukka mudiyum. So income tax is also involved in this election.
Flying squads, static surveillance teams. This election will be high with every contingency accounted for. There will be 1 flying squad in each constituency. Also, there will be static surveillance team for each of the police stations. There will be 4 to 5 police stations in each constituency. The returning officer can request an additional flying squad if the situation warrants.
Oru constituency ke oru video surveillance team irukum. And the video surveillance team enna பண்ணுவாங்க என்னன்னா முக்கியமா நடக்குது அந்த கான்ஸ்டிட்யூன்சில மீட்டிங் இருக்குதா போஸ்டர்ஸ் இருக்கலாம் ஃபிளாக்ஸ் இருக்கலாம் வண்டி போதே கொனவாய் இருக்கலாம் அவங்க வெளிய என்ன அத வீடியோல ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ணும் அந்த ரெக்கார்டட் பண்ண அத ஒரு வீடியோ விங் டீம் இருக்கும் அதே கான்ஸ்டிட்யூன்சி வீடியோ விங் டீம் அவங்க சிடி கட் பண்ணி வீடியோ விங் டீம்க்கு கொடுப்பாங்க வீடியோ விங் டீம் என்ன வேலை அவங்க வீடியோ பார்த்து அத ஒரு ஷீட் தயார் பண்ணுவாங்க இந்த ரோட்ல 10 poster, 10 banner, 4 cutout, அது மாதிரி எழுதி போடுவாங்க. So in the sheet என்னன்னா model code of conduct violation இருந்தா அது நம்ம RO க்கு அனுப்புவாங்க for taking action.
While the system is in place, many political parties may try their best to find loopholes to get their own way. However, you and I can turn into citizen cops and report any flouting of guidelines to toll-free number 1965 in 2 days' time. In Chennai with reporter Peer Mohammed, Lokpriya, NDTV Hindu.
Well, the anticipatory bail plea of Sri Lankan Minister Douglas Revananda was dismissed by the Madras High Court today. A non-bailable warrant was issued against him in a 1986 murder case in which one Thirunavakarsar was shot dead. Now, earlier the Madras High Court refused to quash the warrant against him and asked him to move the right forum to get either bail or anticipatory bail. Now, the minister filed an anticipatory bail petition in the Madras High Court. The court dismissed it, saying that he has to go to the lower court which issued the warrant to recall it. Well, meanwhile, in a shocker of a claim, only a little over a month from the elections now, the AIADMK MPs have raised serious allegations of phone tapping. They have alleged that the phones of the Chief of Opposition and AIADMK Chief Jayalalitha were tapped. And the MPs have told the Prime Minister, and I quote, "The right to privacy of our leader Jayalalitha was invaded. Phone tapping is in violation of Jayalalitha's personal liberty." Now, finger pointing was quick to follow the charges, and the AIADMK MPs are convinced about the state government's hand behind the tapping. Now, meanwhile, they were knocking on the Prime Minister's door and demanding a judicial probe into the issue. And well, in the big national story, the CVC PJ Thomas has been asked to step down by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Now, the CVC's appointment had been struck down by the Apex Court, which slammed the high-powered committee headed by the Prime Minister himself that appointed PJ Thomas. Now, remember that PJ Thomas was appointed as India's top anti-corruption officer by a panel including the Home Minister and the leader of the opposition. Now, Sushma Swaraj had questioned his appointment, though given that he had been charge-sheeted in a corruption case against during his tenure in Kerala. But now the verdict is out. In a stinging comment, the Chief Justice said that the high-powered committee should look into relevant material and not just the high-profile biodata while appointing the CVC. And senior leaders such as the BJP such as Arun Jaitley came down hard on the government, demanding an explanation from the Prime Minister himself.
Mr. Thomas has been removed. It's an indictment of the decision-making process, the criteria for appointment, and the people who appointed him. Courts don't judge the merits of an individual, but courts are certainly concerned, and it's within their domain to go through the decision-making process. Here, the appointing authority, that is the three-member committee, is not even informed that the principal officer who is in charge of investigating corruption has a corruption case against him. When it is raised by the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, Mrs. Sushma Swaraj, you just take it lightly and overrule her. She records a dissent, you still don't look into the facts. The relevant material that there is a corruption case against an officer, which would be a relevant criteria for determining whether he can or cannot be appointed as a CBC, is not even brought before the committee. And I think the Supreme Court has therefore rightly laid down the criteria as to how these appointments must take place. And if you don't go into all these relevant considerations, the appointment is vitiated.
But who do you hold responsible? Because this is something in which there is no political party involved.
It was a three-member committee. The leader of the opposition dissented. So that narrows the choice to the other two. This is a question only the Prime Minister can answer. Who is responsible? Either somebody misled the Prime Minister, or the Prime Minister chose to deliberately mislead himself. And I think before we really speak the final word in this, it's the Prime Minister who must tell us which of the two positions is correct. Was he misled or did he choose to mislead himself? And I think this is a huge embarrassment to this government. It's an indictment to the government. It's a vindication of a national aspiration that such positions can't be manned by those who have cases against them.
But do you think it's a one-off mistake, or do you see that Mr. Thomas's appointment was made because of certain reasons that the government
a pattern? Corruption has increased. The agency investigating corruption, CBI, therefore must be subverted. The appointment of the CBI is done by the CVC. Therefore, the CVC must be a tainted officer so that you compromise with all institutions.
Well, time now to take a quick look at gold and silver prices and to see how they were doing today. Well, cricket versus cinema might seem to be a no-brainer with the World Cup mania, but you do have a few cinematic delights hitting the theatres. We get you a sneak peek on the other side.